Now you have to cut this out.
Yes, we have returned. FIFA, at the time of the recording of this video, FIFA has just ended, and
Yes.
Spain beat Argentina.
Okay,
Goal!
Look, but the real MVP of that game was the Argentinian goalie. We all know it.
Everybody
Don't
says the
fucking come at
Argentinian
me
goalie
for
is the
that, by the way.
MVP. I can't blame you there.
So anyways, welcome back, you guys, to As the Pages Turn. And we might have some new listeners because I know a few people were tuning in for the last few weeks. We've been off for a few weeks because just our lives, Crystal.
Life has been crazy, and I was watching the Spanish team defeat Argentina.
Look,
and I get to stand on that because I found out one of the soccer players who set up Spain's winning score is from Ghana. So I feel like Ghana won the World Cup in a way.
Oh my God. Okay, well, now that Crystal has tried to claim Spain as her home country.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
So we're going to talk about book talk stuff in a minute. But look here, you guys. Me and Crystal were both very invested in FIFA to the point that, like, I was calling her, screaming about stuff. Her and her mom were screaming. We were going back and forth.
It wasn't just me and my mom. You heard my whole family screaming. All that loud noise you heard with the goal, that was my entire family, especially. I mean, I gotta tell you this. My niece was very invested in the Spanish team defeating Messi. I don't know why she wanted the Spanish team specifically to defeat Messi so bad.
He's retiring. Leave the poor man alone. Yeah, this is his last year.
I don't know why she was invested in that. But she was hardcore. She told her mom that they must defeat Messi.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay. And they did it. She was happy. She was dancing, everything.
Of course, anyways. So look, because we were over here on the Mia side, we were Team Argentina because the boyfriend is part Argentinian through one family line. What's funny though is I'd already told Crystal this, is he's also part Spanish. So what's hilarious is literally it was a family feud for him. So we were watching. So we went for Argentina. Crystal, of course, went for Spain. Spain ended up cheating again. I mean, they legitimately
winning. They won that fair and square. If anything, FIFA was cheating a couple times because you saw that one guy on the Argentinian team who just, I don't know what the hell his deal was.
Okay, but
I'm lucky he finally got the red card. My goodness.
Argentina, I'm talking to you. You probably don't listen to this, but Argentinian team. You guys need to pay your fucking goalie like $10,000 million.
Because really, I felt like goalie, Messi, and that other guy you were talking about were the only ones doing anything. And then you had that angry asshole. I don't know what the hell his deal was. He was getting on everybody's faces. Wasn't he poking at some of the Spanish players? It was like, what the hell?
I know, bad sportsmanship. But my thing was the MVP of that whole game, because the only reason Spain got a goal is and legitimately, I will give it to Spain. They worked their butts off to try to get that.
They spent that entire game. You know, the sad part about this, because this was the game. Spain spent the entire time trying to score on Argentina's goalie, and Argentina's goalie was the main one doing work.
I maintain the only reason they got that goal is because they wore that poor man out, because he literally took half the job of his team.
Spain's fault that the Argentinian team wasn't putting in their mess. They just put that all on Messi, and one player can't get the ball to the goal.
He tried though. I feel like
Messi tried.
Like the Argentine team showed up, but only Messi and the goalie showed up to actually play the game. Their offense sucked. Their defense was la 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 la. It was anyways, let's put aside the sports talk because this is book talk.
Yes, we're not allowed to scream about this for 4 more years after this. So, we have to do this once every 4 years. Time, for all I know, we may be on the same side.
We might be on the same side. Who knows? But welcome back, you guys. Because we've missed a few weeks, we have several topics we want to talk about because there was a lot of shit that happened. Book talk does not give it a rest.
It's like we go away for 5 minutes. You think book talk would be the one thing where there isn't sporadic stuff every 5 minutes?
Take a break, book talk. Can you just calm down? Like, what is your prob bob? Okay. So anyways, we have a few topics. We're going to talk about this romance retreat that happened. This was, I don't know, like in June. It happened in June, end of June. And then we have the Ingram AI situation, which you may not know about, but if you use Ingram.
Capitalism at its finest.
Listen. Yeah, so that'll be the second segment, and I'll put in some time codes. That way you guys know where to go to for different stories. And then for the last story, we will be talking about this haunting Adeline discussion, the lack thereof, the actual bullshit, and more actual bullshit. So there's a lot to cover.
There is a whole
So
lot to cover. Let's get on with it.
let's get to it. Okay, so our first topic is going to be about the romance reading retreat held by Celestial Meg, who, if I remember, like, let me just go on. She actually has other events that she intends to host or has hosted.
Okay, I thought this was her first one.
This might have been her first one, but supposedly she had other stuff she was planning. So that's why we wanted to kind of chit chat, because you know us. If there's an event gone wrong, me and Crystal will be there 2 seconds
We
later.
are there. We're always there to call out failed
August,
or just badly planned or just evil events.
And you guys, August 15th, we're going to be, 17th we'll be back. You guys will be getting a convention episode around the 17th, 18th. So just stay tuned.
Oh, that's right. We have our big convention episode coming up. We're not going to be at this convention, but it's still a big episode.
We might have guests. I have people who definitely want to talk about
it. We'll definitely need to have guests, because this is a huge story.
I'm thinking Christina and Ray. I think we get the both of them the fuck on and have a chit chat about
Christina
this.
and Ray, along with my mom, getting mad at us because we did not let her do an underground investigation in Florida. Although personally, I just think she wants to take a trip to Florida.
Oh, and I will say, I still love Crystal's mom, even though she is chosen my boyfriend as her favorite, which will become an ongoing
for the record, she loves them both equally. Mia has declared that she did that.
Anyways, so we have this lovely, we'll just say lovely person, because what the debacle of this event is actually still being discussed, because there are people who are kind of on both, not really both sides, but there are people who are kind of calling out both sides. You know those Reddit threads, Crystal, where it's like, who's the asshole? In this case, it feels like both sides are kind of the asshole.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So what we had is that, we'll just say Meg had this romance reading retreat June 18th to 21st. And there's actually several posts she made where she promises, a weekend of uninterrupted reading time, snacks, crafts, all these events. And it's 4 days where your only agenda is to read, relax, and have fun. And they were going to have an Airbnb with a hot tub, fire pit, food, and food was included, by the way. And it talked about, 4-day, 3-night stay in a luxury cabin in the mountains, book binding workshop, professional bookish photo shoot, crafts, all meals. It actually says this, Crystal. All meals and snacks are included. And bag, book discussion. And then she does put that travel's not included. Midsummer romance, I don't know. And then basically she promises a lot of stuff, okay?
So a lot of promises, yet only 2 kept.
Yeah, a lot of promises. So this event happens. And about a week, I'd say I saw it in July when they posted. So I want to say here, I'm going to look up when I posted this to you. So this was the 17th of July. So they actually did wait a couple of weeks, Crystal. So the attendees of this event, 2 of them in particular, Kat's reading list, and there was another person, posted about it. And basically evidently there was a lot of posts going back and forth where clearly something had gone down and there was some drama brewing. And so basically what came out is that Kat basically posted and said, so Meg evidently, and I couldn't find those posts, by the way, so I had heard that she might have hid her account at the time and or deleted those posts, so I couldn't find the original post that the person was replying to. But what was said was that Meg must have posted some posts about, and I caught some of the later posts she made where she basically talks about how she found out who her real friends are, and she was having a manic episode, and there was all this stuff, and they deserted her in her time of need. Okay. And it's very victim-y. All right. Now, here's the thing. What has been established, here's the facts. Fact 1, Meg does actually have, is it bipolar? Meg has bipolar disorder and has come out, or some kind of, I believe she said she was bipolar, but it could have been a manic. Again, I could not find those posts and it was driving me crazy. It was either she had like a manic disorder or bipolar, but one of those 2. That is a fact. It was posted. She said it. She even says it in the last, in that newest post I could find. Fact 2, during this retreat, she was experiencing a manic episode and there was a lot of stuff done. People ended up leaving early, and so to go over what happened, basically Kat's reading list posted about how day 1, they all showed up and they had donated all this, or not donated, sorry, they had paid all this money, where was it? They had a breakdown of the money where, I mean, obviously they spent a lot of money on, getting plane tickets and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was something to the effect of, there was like,
Mia, if I ever invite you to a retreat thing, understand I am not going to make you buy overly expensive plane tickets. I would pick a mutual spot that isn't overly expensive.
Mm-hmm. So regardless, what I want to say is that each of them gave like $900 is what I seem to remember.
Which is a lot of money.
Yeah. And so, but by the way, there was one part of the money was actually spent on their Airbnb, which was something like, I want to say it was $2,000 or $3,000 that was spent. I want to say it was probably $2,000 on the Airbnb, and that left like $3,000 that had not been spent. Okay. And that was supposed to cover the food. That was supposed to cover all the events. That was supposed to cover the snacks. Now, obviously, she was not paying for their travel. So those expenses, obviously, they can't, recomp from her because she never promised that.
She never promised to pay for the plane ticket, just accommodations, food, and events.
Okay. So then what actually happened, you guys, is that what they basically said was that they showed up, and on Thursday, day one of the retreat, she had not packed her own stuff. Nothing was ready to go to the Airbnb. Groceries had not been purchased. And the cat evidently was the person who was going with her to go to like pick her up, do stuff, whatever. And so Cat evidently shows up, loaded up the car while Meg ate, I guess. So basically she was doing everything. And then they drove 6.5 hours. And somebody else had showed up at that point. And so those two, so Kat and Mallory, I guess, went out to go get shopping because none of that had been done. So by the way, they're now spending money on groceries that supposedly Meg had. Meg had the money for the food, right? But she hadn't purchased anything. So then supposedly she wasn't around when the other girls showed up. So they had to go get more food. So they, not only did they buy groceries, they had to go out to dinner, and I guess Mallory, is the one who paid for all of that. And they still didn't have food. And then when Meg finally shows up, so this whole time she's been gone, she shows up to the Airbnb without food, by the way. And then let's put a little, trigger warning out there. If you experience manic episodes, if you have dealt with any of this mental health, first, please take care of yourself, talk to somebody, get help. Let's say that blanket, okay?
Yeah. Don't ignore your mental health. Don't treat it like it's an afterthought. See a doctor, get help. Don't pretend like it's a game. Mental health is not a joke.
It's not. You should always take your mental health. That's why I'm going to say this before we get into this discussion. Me and Crystal are both fully aware that what this chick experienced is not, obviously you are not in control of bipolar, manic episodes. And I have a mother who's manic depressive. So I've experienced somebody who's had manic episodes. So let me tell you, they are not in control of that. It happens especially if they have no medication. By the way, my mother was not medicated. So let me tell you, I saw it a lot. So when I say that somebody does not have they're not on, and it was said that she was not on her medication. So when somebody is not on their medication, they're not taking care of themselves. This is stuff that can happen at will. It can happen any time, and they really don't have control of it. But what they can control is taking care of themselves, which was not, it was very much implied that was not done. Okay. With that said.
Yeah, it's just if you're aware that you have that, like if it comes out of nowhere and you don't know fully what it is yet, I understand in that moment you didn't have control and you didn't realize.
Yeah.
But when you're aware, you have to take certain precautions. Because if you know you have these episodes, you need to have somebody tell somebody, hey, I have these episodes and I am concerned that if I'm, having an episode, especially if they do something like change your medication, I may do certain things. So I just would like maybe you to take the mantle of doing this, this, and this, just in case I'm having a moment.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we are not trying to, before we go on in the discussion, we're not going to make light of what happened to Meg, because this is a serious issue. A lot of people go through it, and there's a lot of people who are undiagnosed. I will tell you, as someone who's worked in the healthcare field, what was a very interesting fact I found out kind of during my career as a CNA is that we would have a lot of elderly people who ended up with dementia, Alzheimer's. And what a lot of people don't know is half these people would come into our our facilities and have undiagnosed bipolar, undiagnosed this, because a lot of people, and that's what was funny to me is we have a society that says, oh, we never had these problems. Actually, point in fact, you did have those problems. They were
only
just
person hardcore saying we don't have those problems, unfortunately, has been put in charge of our healthcare, but not political episodes. So I'm stopping this comment right here.
Calm down. Back up, Crystal. You're too close to the political line. So that's why I'm trying to put out there that here's the thing. We are not making light of the mental health. We are not making light of what happened. But as somebody, by the way, as a CNA, I have seen people have different episodes of different diseases. So when I say that as you as the other person who's on, like, I was paid to handle that. And, I was taught how to handle that. I went through training to understand how to handle somebody who is having those kind of episodes. If you are somebody who is not trained, if you don't know what the fuck is going on, it can be very fucking scary. It can be a scary event. It can be something where you're like, why am I dealing with this? Why is this to you? It can, especially if somebody is constantly going through it, which is what sounds like happened here. You can literally, on the other end of that, for the layperson, I imagine it would be real fucking scary because you don't know what's going on. You don't know why this person is suddenly losing their mind, and it can be very traumatizing. Okay, so getting back to the story, it sounds like we had like 4 to 6 girls. It sounds like, and so then Meg shows up at this point, and Meg then goes into these rants about how they're all in cahoots with snakes. They're going to be kicked out of the retreat, and they were all very confused. They did not know what was going on. So they all just they're very uncomfortable at this point. No shit, Sherlock. They're uncomfortable. So they go to bed. And then the next day comes. And then again, they have to go out for food because Meg, who has the money, by the way, has still not shopped for food, has still not brought any, has evidently not even given them the money to go get food. So they had to go out again for food, which, by the way, again, as something that was like going back to the beginning, this was supposed to be covered. The food was supposed to be covered. So then they went out for food. They come back. She left again and evidently went to shopping. Now, here's where I go from, okay, there's the manic episodes happening. That's its own issue, right? This is where I'm like, no, this chick fucked up because
we were told, because we have friends who do suffer from that particular condition. They say sometimes when you're in a manic episode, you could go out and sporadically buy junk.
Yeah. Well, supposedly Meg then goes to the store and comes back with like 2 loaves of bread, some deli meat, and PB&J. And that's it. But mind you, supposedly she has at least over $1,000 at least for food. If not more than that. Okay, there's more. Supposedly there's a lot of money, but she only comes back with a few things. Okay, and it could be that because she wasn't on medication, she was going through these manic episodes, maybe her brain just could not handle processing. You have 5 or 6 girls who need food. Like, let's think about this. Regardless, it's not okay though. It's not okay. It doesn't, yes, she was having the manic episodes, but having, like, if you know that you're going to go through that and you're not taking care of yourself, and she clearly didn't warn any of these girls.
Yeah, because nobody at the retreat really knew. I don't think they really found out till she reported it later.
They did not know until she actually posted about it after the fact. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. And here's my thing. If you know that you go through these moments, then you should be telling at least one of these girls, because supposedly they're all friends, by the way. You should be telling at least one of those girls, whoever you're closest to, hey, just so you know, I have issues. Could you hold on to the money? Because at this point, I feel like if you have this disease, you have these issues, you should know what, like, even if you think you're totally in control, and I know that with bipolar, like, you very much get a false sense of like
false sense that you're in control when really you're not.
And you're not. And so I understand that, but I still think some heads up should have been given.
Exactly, because she had been planning this with them, I think, for a minute. Something she really should have done from the beginning, because she knew she had this condition, is talk to one of them, and knowing, because I'm basing this off of what people with the condition have told me, knowing that you can be sporadic with money or this, that, and the other thing. Because they even told us that they would designate certain things to other people because they know they can get like that. And should they ever have an episode, they have the security of knowing the other person, while they were buzzing out, the other person kept the stuff safe.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is I feel like there was no warning given. These girls clearly didn't know what they were getting into, because it continues. So they talk about how this Kat and Mallory had to set up everything because, by the way, the host, like this other chick is the host of this event. She's the one who supposedly is in charge of all the money, in charge of all the events. Like, she at least should be helping in some fact.
Yeah, that's my other suspicion. Because if somebody else was the host and they were actually in charge of the money, then the one who's having episodes, I don't know, maybe she did designate her as the person to control the money just in case. I don't know.
No, she was the host. She was firmly the host.
Okay, then I'm getting it mixed up.
Yeah. So then they talk about how they went and they did actually do the bookbinding. So that was paid for. They did the bookbinding. So that portion of the money, whatever part that was, obviously if they did it, they don't get that. They're not, they're not able to get recomped for that. But they did say they have a fun time doing the bookbinding, even though she's still in this manic state. She's still talking about snakes and contradicting everything. I guess the person who was supposed to be teaching them, she was contradicting them during the whole thing. And then there's a ceremony or something they were supposed to do. So she goes out to pick up the ingredients because she hadn't gotten them. And this person's talking about, like, at this point, you spent more time away from the retreat than you had at it. And then there was all these other events they were supposed to be, like, there's all these other crafts and stuff they were supposed to be doing that were just thrown out the window because she's clearly going through a whole thing. So then, they said after the ceremony thing, they had to figure out their dinner stuff again. And then at that point, because the other person who posted about this basically said, at the end of that, Meg starts flipping and yelling and screaming and maybe following them around at some point, or at least making it so uncomfortable. And I don't know if it was before the ceremony or if it was before bookbinding, because the timeline wasn't really clear. But basically, the timeline includes a bunch of her ranting, yelling, and not stopping, and that they're trying to calm her down and figure out what's going on, and they don't know.
Yeah.
So at this point, they decide that they're not going to stay anymore because they've spent thousands of dollars per person, tickets, paying for the Airbnb, all this stuff, and they left. They basically waited until she was gone again and then left. And supposedly the other person had said in their story, which is not showing up for me right now, but I remember enough of it because the other person had talked about how the only reason they didn't leave while she was gone is because she had brought a dog with her and they did not want to leave the dog by itself without anybody there. So they waited for her to show up again and then left at that point. And then
they booked it out there, which they're nicer than me. I don't care about leaving a dog in the house. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So, and I don't blame them for like wanting to leave because holy crap, that's a lot of
I can't deal with somebody having a mental breakdown, especially like if there's somebody I'm aware they have that thing, then I have a better idea of how to approach them. But if I'm completely unaware, I don't know if I can really deal with that.
Well, and I'll tell you, so I finally found the other person's thread. So the other person who goes by Smut Whisperer on Thread was talking about how she was on her phone the whole time screaming about how people were making fake AI accounts to fuck with her. And they're talking, oh, here we go. I got the breakdown of the money. Thank God. So the Airbnb was $2,000. She had a surplus of $3,800 for food and supplies that she did not do anything. And all the girls evidently were having anxiety attacks in the bedrooms because of all the shit she was doing. And she basically kept putting it on them to figure out dinner, to figure out this, and to pay for stuff.
Oh, Mia, send me the breakdown of the money so I can put it on screen. You guys will have already seen it.
Yeah, here. It's actually, I thank God I found what I was looking for. So here, I got it. And so basically, this person made like a whole post about it. Basically talking about how she wanted them to pay for everything. And they said, hey, you have the money. Why don't you go for it? And so then, this is how they got her to leave. So she wanted to order DoorDash or something and have them pay for it. And they said, no, you have the money. You go out to, they picked some restaurant. They had her go to it for the food. And then while she was gone, that's when they packed up their stuff, got everything together. And they didn't want to, and then they wanted to wait for the food. And they did calmly tell her that, hey, we're leaving. This is not what we signed up for. She said she understood. And then basically they told her, hey, we're going to request refunds. And then supposedly she denies the refunds. I saw that in one of the posts. Okay, she denies the refunds, even though, by the way, she had $3,800 for this event that she never spent. Other than, sorry, she did spend some money clearly on the peanut butter
She
and
did
jelly.
spend money on. We know
meat.
she actually did pay for a nice area to have the retreat in. That
She
she
did
kept
pay
her
for the
word
Airbnb,
on.
yeah. So she paid $2,000, so that's off. So they had. It sounds like they had like $6,000 together. So she paid for the Airbnb, and then she had $3,800 left over. That then she probably spent. It sounds like she spent about $150 on, and she probably paid. Let's be real. She probably paid like $200 for the book binding. So for supplies. So we're gonna say let's minus like $300 out of that $3,800. There's still $3,500, and there was still 2 days that the event was supposed to go on that they just noped out of. So then,
Well,
so
I can't blame them because you're having somebody acting very sporadic.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on because you are unaware of her condition.
Yes.
Maybe somebody might have been able to talk her down, but the problem is they don't know what's going on with her. And she kept everybody in the dark. And like we discussed earlier, she did not designate somebody with the information of if she is having episodes to, maybe calm her down or talk to her with something like that, or maybe warn guests that she has a condition or to take charge. She was trying to do it all herself.
So then I found the post that she actually posted recently, because basically the girls were upset, like, and this is why they were frustrated in posting, and it was like halfway through July that they were posting. So they did wait a while, and they probably were waiting on her to refund the money, and it sounds like she was not talking to them, obviously. And so they couldn't, so that's probably why they posted, because they were frustrated.
Well,
so
I get it. I want my money back too, because, I flew out there to have a fun book weekend. And instead I was met with screaming.
Yeah. So then I actually found the post that Meg did. And here's the thing. When I read her post, she doesn't really take responsibility. She does say she never meant for it to go the way it did, and all this kind of like bad things happened. I'm safe though. But then there's I don't know, the tone of her. I'll read her post. There's very much an attitude of, because she was manic, it's not her fault. She has no control. Now here's the thing. Again, with full recognition that when you're in that state, you really don't have a lot of control. But also, if you're someone who knows that you have those states, then you should probably, especially if you have it that strongly, you should probably be on that medication. So clearly you either were on the medication or something was going on where maybe, and it happens sometimes, your body gets used to medication, it doesn't work. That does happen. So whatever the reason is, what I don't like is that she does kind of seem to blame it on her disease and not on the fact that, like, but hey, you could have at any point none of these girls were paid to be there to be your caregivers. These girls signed up for a book retreat to read and do crafts. Like, none of them signed up for that. So I feel like there's some responsibility. But here, let me read it and you tell me what you think, Crystal. So I found her post after the fact. And her posts after the fact were, I recently had a friendship and abandonment wound ripped right open. Like, metaphorically, still feel the blade in my back. And it quite literally sent me into a psychotic break, where I ended up in the hospital for a whole week. I had known my side of the story the whole time, but none of my friends were listening. And then they all just left because I was too much, which I get. I can see it from their side. But see, after the but, you can apologize, but the minute you say but, the rest of it's bullshit, right? Okay. But I also needed help that I begged them for, and none of them gave it. But that's because not everyone is, so she recognizes not everyone is equipped to handle someone in a state of mania and stress beyond the point of calming down. Bad things happen because of this, but I'm safe. But I also saw some of my friends for who they were after they also projected this breakdown all over social media to paint me in a bad light. I never meant for it to go the way it did. And I'm sure they didn't either, but I also don't want to be friends with anyone who didn't reach out to me privately to help. Now, here's the thing, though. These girls definitely expressed that they did try to reach out. Maybe not constantly, but here's the thing. Okay, Crystal, tell me what you think of what she said, because I have my opinions on it, but...
I feel more like she's just trying to cover for herself, garner some sympathy or something, because even, you remember when we read this to our friends in group when we first heard the story, the ones who are aware of bipolar said they felt highly offended by her statement.
And
so that was my first signal she was full of it, because I was thinking she was full of it. But when they said that they were offended, I was like, yeah, she's definitely full of it, because I I feel more like the condition is being used more as an excuse than, her trying to take responsibility.
Yeah, and here's my thing is that, again, as someone who has had training to handle people who are having breakdowns and to deal with, and we're literally trained on like how to step away, redirect. There's a lot of different things you can try to do. And then at some point, there are times when somebody is in such a state that you can't do anything. You can't reach them. And at that point, literally, they say, walk away, get a nurse, and have the nurse handle it as a CNA. That's literally what they tell you is if you get to the point where they aren't listening, they're that upset, then you need to walk away, go get somebody else, tag team someone else in, because then you just become a part of the problem, right? And I've had it once or twice where I've had people in such a breakdown state that we did have to go get the nurse and we did have to give them some very powerful medication to help them because they were in such a state they could not help themselves, right? And they wouldn't let anybody else help them. So having been through that kind of training, having seen a lot of the things I've seen, if you're getting paid for it, that's one thing. If you're getting paid to handle somebody who's in a manic state, you know what? It's your job. Do it, and then you let it go and you walk away.
Yeah, I agree. If you're getting paid, but if you're not getting paid, and even worse, don't even know,
right? And these girls, like, none of them signed up for this. They did not sign up for help the manic person deal with their issues. They signed up for a book retreat. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, they're not entitled to the money that went to the Airbnb because that was paid for. She did, in fact, do that. However,
yeah, but I don't think they were seeking that money for it was paid for the Airbnb. They just wanted what was left.
Very clear. They just wanted their money back for the food that they had to spend money on constantly because they were the ones having to go out. And they might have asked for a full refund, which I don't necessarily blame them because when
I wouldn't expect a full refund for that. The stuff like certain activities you didn't get to do and for the food, they deserve a refund for that. But they already knew flight and stuff was not going to be a part of the fee, so they'd have to pull that out of their own pocket. And they already knew that accommodation was paid for. So
there's that. So obviously they're entitled to the money they put in for food that they never got. And here's the thing. I'm not going to blame Meg. We're not blaming Meg for having the manic episode. And those can last. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, manic episodes can last days. I've seen it. People can be in an episode for a few days and just not come out of it. So it happens. So I'm not surprised that she had a manic episode for a couple of days. That's not bullshit. That does happen. What I dislike about this is that her posts, she's basically like, well, I understand they weren't there to deal with it and I was too much, but also I begged them for help and none of them, but what were they supposed to do? None of these girls were trained as healthcare professionals.
Well, they didn't even know what was going on with her, and she said they didn't help her. How can I help you if I don't know what's wrong?
Like, I'm sorry, me as a professional, and I won't say I'm super trained professional, but like I have my training. But
Mia is a professional.
Hell no. But me as a professional, if I see somebody around me who's having that kind of a manic episode where it's to the point that they can't do anything and I'm honestly worried about their safety or my safety, I'm driving them to the hospital because I know with my training that if you have someone who's having a serious mental breakdown, you take them to the hospital will literally hold them for 24 to 36 hours, 48 hours, sorry, 24 to 48 hours, and they will put them in a room where they will be safe. They will monitor them. They will find out what's going on. They have a full staff of people who are qualified to deal with that. That's what me with the training would do. I would not try to handle that shit on my own. Are you cray-cray?
Exactly. And once again, like you and I said earlier, these people didn't know what was going on with her.
Exactly.
He's talking about she asked for help and they didn't help her. But how can they help you? They didn't know what's going on. They didn't know you need to go to the hospital because you were having a mental break. They didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically, again, here's a retreat that kind of, and here's the thing, them posting about it. Now, I feel like if they were doing it because they're frustrated, I always say that if you're dealing with something where you don't know how to handle it, and you obviously have nobody around you who can tell you how to handle it. That's what Reddit is for. Hello, Reddit has 500 million people you can talk to. But also, Like, I don't, now there were a lot of people, I will say, there was a lot of commentary back and forth. There were people on the side of, why are you guys posting this? Like, why are you trying to make this viral? And some of the girls did say, look, we were really not trying to make this viral. We were just so frustrated and so upset because Meg was evidently posting this kind of way about them on her like Facebook or something before they even replied. So I feel like they literally did this to kind of defend themselves, and possibly also because they were trying to get the money back, and it sounds like
I feel it was defense trying to get their money back, and it probably was a little bit of spite.
It could be. And honestly, I don't blame them for that, because I'm sorry, if I signed up, and I'm gonna look at this, I'm gonna pretend I have no training, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. Me as a book person, like, if I've signed up for this event. I paid money for it. I paid fucking play tickets for it. And I show up, and girl, you're going crazy on my ass and telling me that I'm in cahoots and I'm a snake and I've made AI fake shit about you. Girl, please take it to another room, because I'm not here for it.
That's very true, Mia. And all truth, if she was flipping out and we were there, an entirely different story probably would have gone down.
Dude, if me and Crystal were there. Me and Crystal, dude.
It would have been, you're giving money back now.
Yeah, I would have been like, here's my Venmo. First of all, please Venmo me the money you owe me. Second, here, I will drive you to the hospital because I'm a nice person. I'm not going to leave her there by herself.
Although knowing us, we probably would have dialed 911 the second she started acting hardcore crazy.
Yeah. No, I would have been like, here, let's go out to the restaurant. And then we would have stopped at the ER. That would have been our first stop before the restaurant.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, girl, please, I am not, if I'm there for a book retreat and I've spent all this money, I'm not there to take care of you. I'm here to relax and chill out. What are you talking
that's like
about?
a relaxing weekend.
Yes. And then I would have been like, here, can I borrow your phone? And then I would have found the word mom or dad and called them for her and been like, here, talk to somebody.
Yeah, I think we would have done that, right? You know, when we got there in the car, one of us would have stolen the phone.
And this just goes to show you, if you're going to do a convention or any kind of book retreat and you think nonsense might happen from you, don't invite me and Crystal, because we are
don't invite us. Me and I are quite maniacal. That's why the other authors are scared when we're in a room together.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, deniability, Crystal. You got to work on deniability. Okay.
Okay, we will allegedly be maniacal.
We will allegedly steal your phone, call your parents, and then take you to the psych ward. Don't play
Exactly.
with me.
We will allegedly lure you into a car, say under the premise of dinner, so one of us could allegedly take your phone to call your parents to see what's going on here.
Yes.
Then allegedly take you to the doctor.
No, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. If you start yelling at me, I'm immediately going to be like, where is the Ativan cocktail? Because I don't see it here, and I didn't bring one with me.
In all truth, think I will allegedly have to stop you from teaching that person of what 5 fingers say.
Look, we have a thing where we would be like, Ativan cocktails, baby. Shot, because sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need that Ativan cocktail to take you down a notch. And I'm not equipped for that. If I'm on a book retreat, all I have is books and a computer to write on, okay? So anyway, so there's that. So I think we've gotten this subject
I think we covered everything we can with that. Good luck to these people trying to get their refund. Person who is the host, please take responsibility. And I hope you're able to get whatever you need for your condition, but you still took their money. You still owe them refunds.
You owe them an apology, at least. Here's my thing.
That too.
First of all, Meg, I do want you to I hope you get help for yourself. I'm glad you went to the hospital. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad they took care of you during that week manic period. I'm glad that you had people looking after you. However, I would stress that you should maybe in a few months after you have kind of, maybe gone to a more, stable ground, maybe look back and realize that you do owe these girls an apology, because if you did not tell them what was going to happen, if you did not give them some advance notice of what could happen, and clearly it sounds like you knew something might happen, or you knew that you have these episodes, you should have given them a heads up. If you're going to plan an event,
more importantly, in general, if you know you have these episodes, the same way our friends who have condition have told us, then you need need to have somebody else designated to be in charge of certain things, because if you, let's say your medicine gets, for whatever reasons, decides it doesn't want to work anymore and you don't realize that at first, having a secondary person in charge of things like the money and to double check to make sure certain things were scheduled is invaluable, because it makes sure everything will still go okay. And that person can cover for you should you have an episode. It won't require me and Mia allegedly taking a phone and going to the hospital.
Deniability anyway. So, not that me and Crystal would have anyway. So let's talk about
we would never do that. Totally. This is a very believable sentence.
Look, don't play with us. We are not the, let me just tell you real quick, we are not the people to play with. Do not pull shit around us. And I don't care if it's an event. I don't care if it's a book retreat. I don't give a flying effity doodah. Do not pull shit around me.
Especially since we are authors, we are very tired. We do not have the mental bandwidth to deal with it.
I don't have the patience. I'll tell you right now, if I see people doing anything, no, down. Oh, I actually have a fourth topic we can talk about, Crystal. Speaking of, we'll get to that at the end. So let's talk about Ingram.
Oh boy.
Right? Okay. So,
I feel like this is worse than Crazy Book Retreat.
I think it is, honestly, because Ingram is just evil. So anyways, I mean, Amazon's evil. Let's be real. They're all evil.
They're all evil. And I told you, this is one of the many reasons I'm glad I ended my relationship with them a very long time ago.
Well, Crystal actually had published some of her books on Ingram. And then because of the enormous fucking fees they have for dealing with stuff, like she noped out of them.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the same policy now, because this was my first book, and this was, I think, 9 years ago. But at the same time,
I think once they're worse.
The incident happened, I was done with them, and I have not been giving enough incentive to try with Ingram again.
Yeah. So what happened was people found out, and I actually sent this. I don't know if anybody follows Diana Wallace on TikTok. You should. She's awesome. She's a young adult horror author who actually does occasional videos about some of the drama stuff. And I really love her videos because I think she approaches most of them in a very fair way of kind of trying to address all the points on all sides and then putting it out there and saying, what do you think? I like that. I approve of like going over both sides, putting it out there. She does her research. Okay. She has a lot of contacts too. She actually recently just got an award for one of her horror novels, I think. So congratulations to her. But
congrats.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's a sweetheart. I've seen a lot of her posts. She's a very sweet person. So I actually sent this to her because I was like, I know she has a lot of contacts. So I was going to send it to her to be like, hey, can you look into this? And she's like, oh, I'm going to look into this. And I'm like, good. But I feel like we can just talk about it before anybody looks into it. So it has now been found out that if you publish your books on Ingram, they are now, let me preface this by saying they are not actively licensing or selling digital content or author manuscripts directly to AI companies. But with that said, there's a big but in the room, Crystal. But it has now been made possible, i.e. read-in tech companies bribed Ingram. Let's just allegedly. It allegedly
has been made possible.
Allegedly has made it possible. So basically, Ingram added this new feature that you have to opt out from. By the way, this is a lot of bullshit that people have to opt out of this. They're automatically, especially if you're an author and you're automatically opted in, that's some bullshit. So they have made it so that tech companies can purchase physical copies of books through the distribution network to scan them for machine learning, prompting Ingram to issue an opt-out choice. And so what it is that AI firms can buy physical printed books, normal channels, and they are allowed to then use it for AI because, they bought the book. Now, obviously, Crystal, have we talked about the AI issue?
Again, these people really make me mad, because where we could be using AI as a useful tool to help creativity, these sons of so-and-sos allegedly keep using it for evil.
So then basically, authors now have to go on and they have to fill out a form, by the way. So publishers have this opt-out form. So by the way, the big traditional publishers can just fill out this form and they don't ever have to do anything so that they can just have their stuff opted out. But by the way, if you're a traditional publisher and you are publishing with your an active publishing company, you need to ask them if they've opted out of this, because if they have not, by the way, baby, your book could end up in some AI digital content. Okay. Now, for indie authors, we do not have publishers. We do it ourselves.
We do what we want.
Yeah. So indie authors evidently have to go in and opt out of this. And so there's some people, there's not a lot of people talking about it, which is why I want to bring it up, because the fuck you gonna tell me. And by the way, the person who had posted this video video, had talked about the fact that it's so hard for people on Ingram to opt out of anything, to have anything done, because Ingram is kind of notorious for not replying to people actively, for not being on top of its shit. So, like, the fact that authors have to opt out of this, I'm sorry, why are we automatically opted in for you to sell my book
what'd
to
be
a
nice
company?
is if you were given the option to opt in with the explanation and you can say no, instead of having to hunt down how to opt out and that this exists in the first place.
And supposedly what I was seeing is that there was some talk that people had tried to opt out and were having a hard time doing it in the first place. So proven true that they were having a hard time opting out of it. But the fact that you are automatically opted in with no choice, like, what is that? And people, by the way, didn't even know about this. Nobody knew this had been added until somebody caught it on their dashboard and was like, WTF, and then started posting about it on TikTok. So by the way, they kind of snuck it in there when nobody was looking too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, they snuck it in there.
And I get, because like we have talked about, me and Crystal have talked about, the AI discussion is very multivariance. Like,
it's multifaceted, it's complicated,
yes.
and you get more people screaming about stuff than trying to actually come to a table with a solution.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of pitchforks and torches out there, okay? And trying to have this discussion, I've actually been very, because I've seen some readers, I've even seen some authors who are very much on the, and I don't necessarily blame the authors, but I've seen a lot of readers who are like, oh, well, if I see you do like any kind of AI marketing ad, well, I'm going to assume you used AI to write your book. And I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit. I do not like that. And so,
yeah, because I have used AI in limited stuff in order to do marketing or minor things like help me with a thumbnail. But we've talked about this. There is like using it for minor stuff and then just crossing a line.
There's a big difference between using it for marketing, which, by the way, you're not like doing your cover, you're not writing the books for AI, you're just doing the marketing post, right? And the fact
AI will never write a book for me or you because we don't believe in that.
No. And so that's my thing is like, look, I get, because it's a very hot button topic. It will continue because a lot of these companies have just tried to ram it down all our throats. So I don't even necessarily blame people for the pitchforks and torches, because I understand a lot of that comes from the fact that they feel like these companies have gotten away with murder. They are allowed to do whatever the actual F they want to, and nobody is clocking them. They don't have to pay for it. They just get to exploit everything.
Yeah, they just come in and do whatever they want with somebody else's creative work. Speaking of somebody else's creative work, Mia, did we ever talk about what that dude did with that woman's story?
I thought we did. Did we not?
I don't remember.
I thought we did. I thought we talked about the guy who basically copied somebody else's. I think we did. I mean, if you don't hear, we'll do a quick refresher.
I feel like we talked about that in private and through a tantrum. I don't remember us recording it, but we could talk about this later. Let's focus on Ingram. Everybody listening to this, if you look for the episode.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it because basically it was about this guy. We did. We talked about it because we were talking about people behaving badly, authors behaving badly, and it was one of the author behaving badly stories we talked about.
Okay, I was worried we didn't talk about that one.
Funny story, Crystal, our brains are linked, because I saw that pop up the other day where somebody was like, how did this guy not know that this was a bunch of bullshit? And I'm like, because stupid.
Yeah, he was stupid and an idiot, just like Ingram is allegedly being right now.
Right. Oh, allegedly. Okay, well, that takes us to the next story. And this one is going to have some, let's just put in a trigger warning for Haunting Adeline.
Yeah, trigger warning. Essay. I am flashing the warning label sticker right now, people, so you can't complain to us later and leave us nasty things in the comments. Actually, if you do, we're just going to delete them, but you can't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, there has been something that's come up. And what's going on is that Haunting Adeline is being made into a film, or has been made. Here, I will double check this right now because I don't know if they've already movie release. Here, I'm going to double check because I don't think it has been.
I didn't hear about a release date yet. I just heard people screaming maniacally.
There's a graphic novel officially confirmed to be in early development by the author. There's been no cast or release date. So basically the author came out, H.G. Carlton, came out and wanted to announce that it had gotten picked up for a movie, which she is an indie author. Congratulations to her. It is a dark romance. Okay, let's put this up front. It is a dark romance. It is not just a romance. And a lot of people are like, oh, but it's put as a romance. Actually, no. If you look on Book Talk, it is advertised by a lot of people as a dark romance. Now, I'm going to put this up here up front because I feel like a lot of people do not understand what the fuck dark romance is. And so immediately when they hear about it, they get offended, they get upset. The morality clause in society kicks in, screams begin, pitchfork torches and tar pits automatically form.
Yeah,
so,
immediately get the pitchforks instead of having a discussion about it.
A discussion. So basically, Haunting Adeline concerns, and by the way, the author has a trigger page in there because it is a dark fucking romance. And if you don't know what a dark romance is, you know, most romances are HEAs, which are happily ever afters. So it doesn't matter what the characters go through, they're going to have a happily ever after. Dark romances take it a step further. Dark romances touch on taboo subjects. There's actually a second part to the genre, which is strictly like taboo romance. You also have, there's different romances that are fetishes. You have a lot of, in the dark romance field, there is a lot of breakdown. There's age gaps. There's like the stepbrother, stepsister crap. There's a lot of breakdown.
There's a lot of issue of consent and stuff in dark romance. Yes. But once again, dark romance doesn't try to hide what it is. It lets people know it crosses certain lines.
And I want to say that half the reason why we have trigger warnings in books now is because of the fucking dark romance authors. Be very clear, okay? Be very clear here that dark romance authors are always getting beat down when it comes to Book Talk and everybody else. And it really pisses me off because I have a lot of dark romance friends. B, I know a lot of people who fucking read dark romance. So y'all want to act like y'all want to clutch your pearls out there and be like, oh my God, how can we talk about this? Girl, please. Please. Half of fucking society reads this shit. By the way, if you want the truest dark romance, it's called a history book. You should read it because fiction doesn't even come close to the shit that has happened in history. Okay? So everybody who wants to clutch their pearls, get out the torches. You need to back the fuck away from me. I ain't the bitch for this because I am very protective of my dark romance people. So here's the thing. Dark romance authors are some of the people who actively pushed for fucking trigger warnings. There's a lot of books before, early 2000s that do not have trigger warnings that should. There are a lot of books that should have trigger warnings that do not. Queen of the Damned, The Vampire Lestat. Mayfair Witches, I could go on. I think, actually, I want to say Anne Rice put some in hers. I want to say she put it for one of the Mayfair Witches. She did actually have a trigger warning. I don't know that she did it for all of them, but I want to say at least one of her books has a trigger warning about some shit. So a lot of dark romance is part of dark romance. Part of the genre is that these books go into topics that are fictional. Well, not fictional, but they go into topics that are not, let's say,
we could say normal. Extremely taboo. Now, even with me saying that, there are certain lines that dark romance authors say go too damn far, and majority of them are on the side of don't write that, that's wrong, but it still does creep into some very, very serious red flag areas.
And I will say, one of the things we actually recently talked about, Crystal, not too long ago, was about the Australian author who had tried to put her shit out there. Actually, she misrepresented her shit as like an age gap romance, and then dark romance people got on her ass because
she did the age gap, and then she tried to put it in the dark romance thing. And I remember because we were talking to some of our dark romance buddies, and they threw a hard tantrum, and I couldn't blame them.
Yeah, and so here's the thing is that dark romance authors are some of the staunchest supporters of rape survivors and SA, and these are women and men, a lot of women, who have dealt with shit themselves. That's why they write the books they write. They have dealt with it, and they are processing it through this book. Now, should their books be read by everybody? No.
No, it's not for everybody.
Can't handle it. And I will even say, as someone, and I've read a lot of different variations of books. I am not somebody who shies away from different books. There are some books, even in dark romance, that I cannot read. I can't handle it. I have very few triggers, but like there's 2 or 3 triggers I have for sure. Okay. So I will say that these books are not for everybody. They're not meant to be.
They are definitely not for everybody. because I don't think you saw my review of this, Mia, but there is a dark romance book that's extremely popular called 365 Days.
Yeah, I saw the Netflix movie. Yep.
Yeah, that one was definitely not for me. Partially because I do have critiques outside of it being a dark romance story. I felt like the author did some things with her plot that she ignored the premise on, but that's besides the point. The point is, it was dark romance. It did involve control. It did involve SA. And I could tell that was not a story for me when I read it. That's why, even though it didn't get the highest score on my review thing, I paused and said, this was just not a story for me. And I'm also not going to be critical of people who enjoy it because to each their own.
And so here's the thing of what's going on. So there is a discussion going on. And by the way, let me just say ahead of time, there is a portion of this discussion that is very fucking misogynistic. There's two parts. I'm gonna address both parts right now, the fuck up front, so you know that you are fucking wrong and disgusting and should be thrown in the trash. For everybody who is saying that this movie should not be made because it will encourage men to rape women, y'all need to get the fuck out of here. You really need to get
the whole men and that thing is an entirely different discussion, and I know they didn't get it from those books.
No, here's my thing. Every single one of you that is in those fucking comments. Also, by the way, some of you are fucking disgusting people because I've seen some of the commentary. Like, someone actually said, I don't care if it makes me a bad person, but I wish upon the advocates and supporters of this book becoming a movie, everything that happened to Adeline. Y'all need to go into the trash bin.
That is just wrong, and whoever wrote that should realize they were crossing a line. Haunting Adeline is a fictional piece of work that even helps survivors of SA be able to deal with what happened to them and be able to voice it and not blame themselves. You saying that is just wishing more violence and cruelty upon somebody.
You guys are fucking disgusting, and you can jump off every cliff head first. That's what I have to say there.
Exactly.
Now, second, for the misogynistic view, and I've seen a lot of this fucking commentary from people who are like, oh, well, you can't, you're just going to encourage men to rape women. Excuse the fuck out of me. This is this victim blaming bullshit that I will not put up with. I will not put up with this because all you're trying to do is blame the victim. You're not even trying to have a conversation about certain subject matter. You're just trying to scream, let's do this, that, and the other to the person who wrote it. How about instead we have an actual discussion and conversation about it, like doing more to help SA survivors or doing more to have a discussion and not make it taboo if somebody goes through that to talk about it. Exactly. And so there is just, I am just... like, here's the thing. For example, someone was like, I'm usually, and this, I don't think this person was trying to be, I get why they said it, but it still comes off as misogynistic to me. So anyways, somebody was one of the discussion points I was seeing going around, and I'll read this person what they said. Not going to say the name, but they said, I'm usually not one to yuck someone's yum, but Haunting Adeline is and always has been my exception. The book sucks, and turning it into a movie, giving it, and that's their opinion, by the way, turning it into a movie, giving it more visibility and making it accessible to a wider audience is dangerous, especially in this fucking manosphere, red pill hellscapes we already live in. Now look, I understand. And Crystal actually gets this too. Me and Crystal cover politics, okay? We know.
Yes, not in this episode because it's a book episode, but we cover this stuff.
But the fact that, and I can even say that at least that person, they weren't trying to pile on. They were just saying their opinion. Hey, good for you. You have your opinion. But here is where your opinion needs to be checked. Here's where you need to educate yourself, okay? Is that you saying, oh, we're in this terrible hellscape, which, by the way, we are. No denying it. Nobody's denying it here.
We are not denying the fact that we are possibly in a hellscape, allegedly.
We are not. Actively pointing facts. I have ordered a zombie apocalypse. Hopefully it'll get here soon. Okay, putting that aside.
I still think the robots will beat it. Anyway.
Crystal, this is not the time for the apocalypse argument. Okay. Later. Okay. So here's my thing. I understand where people can say, okay, look, this year has been terrible. I've already had to deal with all of this bullshit in the news, all of this stuff going on. And a lot of people do use books for their escapes. I understand that. I get you. I understand the readers who use it for their escape. However, I need you guys to get educated. I really do. Because the fact that you want to say, oh, well, if we put it out there, it will encourage men to rape women, encourage men to be blah, 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 blah. Look, there has been 5 million fucking years of history. Please read a history book. There's a lot of them out there. King Henry VIII. How many wives did he unalive because he didn't get a fucking son? Crusades. Look those up. Fascinating reading.
Oh, we are definitely talking about England's biggest slut, and I will say that I think the British would agree.
Yeah, basically. Well, one of them. I don't know. England's had a lot of sluts for kings and queens.
I don't know a guy who, abandoned entire religion to create a copy of said religion so that he could marry and unalive these women if they didn't give him a boy. That's a huge step up.
Crystal,
because how many of them you see go so far as to even try to change everybody's religion over it?
Mm-hmm. So let me just say, saying that comes off to me, and like I said, I'm not trying to go after that one person because the other person who said the other thing, fuck you. This person was just expressing their opinion, totally understandable. And I can even understand to a point of like, hey, we live in a bad time. Why are we doing this movie now? However, I need you guys, to read history books and realize that people who are predators do not need reasons to fuck people up. And unfortunately for men, like 70% of aggressors are men. Let's be real about this. There's fucking statistics out there, especially for women. That's not to, by the way, that's also not to downplay men who are abused, because I fully support, like, look, there are men who have been abused by women. There are men who have been abused by men. So this is not to downplay any of their struggles either, okay? But what I want to point out is that people who are fucking predators and sociopaths and who do that kind of evil crap do not need a fucking reason. They just are fucking evil. They just do it.
They're just evil and they're jerks and they need to get some therapy.
And so trying to blame an author because she's happy that her book is going to be a movie. No, sorry. It's called fiction. But B, there's a lot of people. Here's a comment I want to read, because this one I think should put it in perspective for people who maybe don't get what the fuck people have to deal with in society and who have dealt with crap. Okay. So there was somebody here. So somebody had posted, I read Haunting Adeline. It was a few years ago, and Haunting Adeline actually triggered me in such a serious way that I had to have a late night call with my therapist. The ending actually triggered a memory from my childhood that I had blocked, a memory that involved me almost going missing. After I dealt with the fact that I had one more piece of trauma to add to the pile, I emailed H.D. Carlton to thank her. She didn't respond, but that's okay, because I was probably one of 100 emails that day, because her book helped me deal with something in my life and helped me understand myself a bit more. It genuinely helped heal a part of my soul. And that's what I want everybody who is trying to throw up the misogynistic bullshit, this bullshit, that bullshit. Look, there's a lot of people who have dealt with SA and rape and these events. A lot of women have suffered, okay? Probably a lot of guys too. And people, some of those people read these books and it helps them process their own fucking trauma. We actually have a friend who wrote her own story in it's nonfiction book, right, Chris? Or did she fictionalize it? I think it was nonfiction. Vanessa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she wrote her story as a nonfiction book about her life events, okay? And she has dealt with a lot of crap. She dealt with a lot of crap in her childhood. She'd been through a lot of shit. She talked about basically fuck her family, because her family basically covered up a lot of bullshit that happened to her as a child. It was very terrible. She wrote about it. That's how she was dealing with it, right? Here's my thing is, a lot of people for some reason don't think, like, it feels like in this society we discount people. We try to put survivors of SA down. We try to put great victims down.
They do. They always want to blame the victim,
and we make them. A lot of even them going into a police station to talk about what's happened to them. Okay, they have to explain why they allowed it. Like, some of the questions that used to be asked of women who had gone through this and children was fucking disgusting. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked this up. You should look up some of the questions that, like, old time police fucking used to ask fucking SA survivors and grave survivors.
Well, really,
look it up.
To be honest, Mia, when I was a kid and my mom had to talk to me about, how you have to be careful with stuff like that. Yeah. And I was asking her questions about, well, if something happens like that, why can't this person just easily go to police? She didn't respond to me with, oh, this, blah, blah, blah. She immediately yelled at me, what did you do? And then she explained to me, that's how you're treated when you're a survivor of that type of thing. You're treated like you did a crime. Even when I read Stormy Daniels' book, everybody wants to talk about her relationship with Trump. From what I read, I question how consensual that was. But anyway, my point is when she was a child, she was assaulted by, somebody who knew her friend's family.
Yeah.
And when it came out that this person was assaulting little girls, and they were asking her if she knew anything, she said yes and admitted that it happened to her too. And she was greeted with, "Why did you lie?"
Exactly. That's the kind of, and society still puts women, children, the survivors, everybody through this. Like, and I speak about this from a place as someone who grew up with a parent who was molested as a child. Okay, I don't even know if YouTube will let that word go through. We'll say had terrible things happen to her as a child by a family friend, and did not, because back in that day they did not talk about that shit. They did not, because there was not just blame, but it just, we frown on it. We can't talk about it in polite society. Well, that's why fucking tons of people.
That's why stuff like that gets rampant, and it's harder and harder to deal with. Even when somebody is actively trying to do something to stop it, it's more difficult because people are encouraged not to talk about it. And a lot of times when it's blatantly obvious somebody is a predator, everybody wants to turn a blind eye. And if somebody wants to call out that person, it's made pretty freaking hard to get any justice, and you may come under attack for telling the truth.
And so here's the thing is, my mother talked about the fact that this happened to her as a child. She was so young, she didn't know how to tell anybody. She was, I believe she was under 5 when it happened. And she didn't know how to tell anybody. She didn't feel like she could tell anybody because they just didn't talk about those things. And she had blocked it actually for a lot of her life until she was older. And I believe she got therapy or something, and then it came out. And so she finally told her mom a few years before my grandmother passed away. And my grandmother, who by the way was a bit of a badass herself, actually said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And my mother had told her, well, we just, I didn't know how to talk about it, but B, you weren't she didn't know that it, yes, it hurt. Yes, it was bad, but she didn't know any better. Because nobody fucking talked about it, right? Nobody said anything. It was just, you whispered, there was whispers, but you never fucking talked about it. Nobody, like her as a child, did not know that this adult male in her, who was a friend of the family, was not supposed to be the fuck touching her. Did not know that. And so just to, finish up, my grandmother literally said, because my grandmother was somebody who very much would have dealt with it.
Well, your grandmother's more somebody who would have acted on it, which I think is very good, because we could even use examples like Oprah. She was sexually assaulted by her uncle. She has been very open about that. But when her family found out, it was like, well, that happened. They didn't do anything about it, anything else. She said even her father one time asked her if that really happened. She said yes. And he was like, okay, well, that's not good. But he was not active about it, which would be, if something like that happened to me, I can tell you right now, my father, somebody would have gone into a grave. But that's because we come from people who will act. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who won't act, and there are a lot of people who demand you cover it up, which is why probably this whole thing with Haunting Adeline even started.
Yeah, because there is, and people have commented on it and said, why are you trying to censor this? Because people are so, it's uncomfortable. Sure, well, yeah, that's why A, there's fucking trigger warnings, but B, we need to talk about this as a society. And the reason why is because we have so many victims who are not noticed, who are not believed, who are not listened to. And this is some bullshit that you want to silence. And by the way, this is a fictional book, but that's not to say that that events in there could not happen to somebody. Why don't we have movies with it? Is it fucking hard to watch? Yes. And here's the thing. If you are somebody who can't handle that, then don't fucking watch it. Don't fucking
Exactly.
read it.
I use this example. Choices. I was not a fan of Netflix making a live action of The Last Airbender. I admit I watched 1 minute of their live action. You know what I did? I didn't watch anymore. I just ignored it and just figured, well, don't watch it if you don't like it. You can do the same with this movie.
Look, I got to episode 4. I got to episode 4 on Airbender, and I couldn't take it anymore. They were just driving me crazy.
Which one, the animation or the live action?
The live action.
That one was tough. You just need to watch the animation and call it a day.
Yeah, pretty much. I like I don't like Korra, but anyways, I'm in.
Some people love it, like me and any other people. I can't stand Korra, but you know what? I'm going to give Korra the benefit of the doubt in the sense of they were up every season writing a new story because they weren't sure if they get renewed.
That's
It would
true.
have been better have an overarching story because I feel like the Avatar story works better that way. But that's just my personal opinion.
But anyway, so and then some of the discussion is like, I mean, there was somebody who mentioned it saying, you know, the only thing this discussion has told me is how many of you guys are okay with censorship, so long as it aligns with your personal beliefs. And that is something that's going on. And then somebody talking about this was one of the better comments. That's why I fucking like screenshotted it, was why are we blaming HD and Haunting Adeline books for giving men more ideas instead of, I don't know, holding men accountable? And this is why we will always choose the fucking bear. Like, if I'm in the woods, dude, I am not choosing. I don't care if it's a girl or a guy. I'm not fucking choosing anybody. I will choose the bear.
And all truth, half the time I will
friend.
choose the bear too, because unless this is like a dude I personally know who I can trust me, I'm going to the bear.
Yeah. And it's also of like, and here's something else that I thought was really good input by a girl in her books. And I really liked her commentary, so I'm going to read the full commentary. So she says, funny, it's always non-dark romance readers at the scene of the crime. With this Haunting Adeline movie discourse, I just gotta say, I've never seen DR readers attacking contemporary romance readers, historical romance readers, or give even any other genre but romance when their books get adapted. We are supported. We are loud and proud for our fellow readers and authors. But man, when DR finally gets its due, it's, you're a rape apologist. You are romancing rape. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
don't
said.
think that's the point. Like, even though dark romance does have essay and they go with that partner and stuff, really what it's doing is bringing up a lot of conversations we need to have. It's like, you may have heard of this woman who's a writer, Artemisia. She was sexually assaulted. This happened during I think the Renaissance era or something. She was sexually assaulted by, I believe, somebody who worked with her dad. And back then, not only was the process, if you were claiming you were assaulted, extremely painful, they would have you marry the guy who assaulted you in order to, restore your self-respect in society. To which I say, you have to really think about this. This was a thing. And to be honest, I don't think we've deviated that far from it not being a thing anymore.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm not gonna, anybody who is uncomfortable with the subject, I'm not gonna blame you for not wanting to see this movie. No, not at all. Like, you don't want to see it. It is not in your comfort zone. Completely understood. We understand that. That is okay.
We understand, but you don't have to watch this movie. You don't have to make lewd comments. And, if it's something you just makes you that uncomfortable, then just don't watch it and don't read the book.
Well, and for anybody who's trying to fucking like, because I've seen some of the other comments that are just fucking terrible of like, oh, well, you guys just want to like all this kind of crap, and it is just disgusting, some of the trash comments. And then I will say H.G. Carlton actually came out with a video where she actually talks directly to SA survivors and grape survivors, and she basically apologized and said, look, I do not like the fact that people are trying to come out and like bring your shit up and drag you into this and basically like put you into this and blame you for some bullshit. Like, she's like, me having a book made of this, like her having a movie made of her book is not meant to be a pathway for people to fucking go after SA survivors and grape survivors. And so she was, and you could tell she was very fucking upset about some of the shit she had seen. And there was, evidently people were making threats and all this kind of, dude, look, again, if you have the misogynistic side of this conversation, if you want to be out there and be like, I wish this on every person who support, excuse the fuck out of you. Excuse the absolute fuck out of you. Please, there are many cliffs. Please direct yourself to one of them and jump off head first. Thank you.
Allegedly run and get off, jump off that cliff. Allegedly.
Anyways, what? I didn't say nothing.
I didn't hear nothing.
I didn't hear good. Didn't hear nothing. I was anyways, so that is some of the book topics that have come up over
that
the
is
last
the
few
crazy
weeks.
and wild world of book talk. It gets hot fairly quickly.
Yes. And
I mean, we're only gone for, oh my goodness, Mia, we were only gone for like 2 weeks.
I know. It was like 2.5 weeks, man. We leave for 2 days and apocalypse time in book talk world. And I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all
we
can't
leave
go
for
down
2 weeks
minutes.
to spend time focused on screaming about soccer, and we come back to this.
Look, that Argentinian goalie, MVP. Anyways, Deserves
Yeah,
a
but still,
raise.
Spain won, so I was happy.
Okay, yeah, we got your happy, Crystal. You don't need to rub it in anyways.
Oh, Miss
Crystal
Space,
was
you know I get to rub it
Crystal's
in.
mom, okay? Miss Crystal's mom was like over here. Like, by the way, because she knew Jason was on the other side. And she's like, I'm sorry, Jason, that you voted for the loser. And it was wild.
He literally, as soon as Space won, told me to give her the phone and kept asking me, how do I contact you so that she can tell Jason that Spain won?
Dude, was really there was some wild trash talk. Anyways, we will have this weekend. We will be doing a politic episode for anybody who follows the political stuff. Trust me, we know. By the way, book people, plug your ears. Okay, we know it's a trash fire out there. Trust me, we will be talking about the zombies. Don't worry. Hey, I'm pro zombie here. Let's talk.
Considering what they're doing with AI, I think we're getting closer to having the robots go berserk on us first.
I mean, I don't know, Crystal. There's a certain situation in the political land where zombies could be justified. They could be first. I don't know,
honey. The only disease spreading is in lettuce, but we can talk about that in the political episode.
Okay, yeah. So anyways, we will be back next week with a political episode. But we just wanted to catch you up on all these book topics. Please comment down below. Leave us your commentary on everything. Tell us your views. If any of it is icky, I mean, feel free to comment, but realize
feel free to comment. That helps us with the algorithm. But if you're doing something really icky, we will delete it.
We will.
You can criticize us, you can trash talk us, but if you cross a line, we're just gonna delete it.
And or make fun of you. Anyways.
Behind your back or in public, it depends.
Please. I mean, I feel like we're very much in their faces. It's not like we're trying to hide anything. So
yeah.
But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for your support, love. Thank you for listening. Please like, please subscribe. Please come back next week. We have more episodes. Jason is still working on the shorts.
Yes, Jason will help us bring you wonderful shorts as my mother gloats about how his team lost.
Oh my God. By the way, let me tell you, Jason, her mom is still gloating. Anyways, I just passed that message on to him. He stuck his tongue out now. Commentary done. And we will not have a chocolate discussion this week. I feel like next week, probably after the politics.
We can talk about the chocolate next week, because if you start talking about chocolate, I'm going to get into the whole Spain thing again.
Look, we shouldn't even have to have what should be commentary is that Crystal owes me chocolate and has not delivered. Has not, will not. But yeah, so we have a lot of things to talk about next week. We will talk about them. Love you guys. Please like, please subscribe, and come back for more later. We'll be here.
Come back for more, please. We got more craziness for you.
Right, man. I mean, we probably still have 3 other book talk topics we could have talked about. But
please, as soon as knowing how these things work, as soon as we're done recording, we're gonna get hit with a new story.
Pretty much. Like as soon as I push this end recording button, somebody's gonna pull some shit. And I'm gonna be like, damn it, we could have talked about it.
Yep, and then my inbox will be full of videos of somebody doing something incredibly stupid they didn't need to do.
Me and Crystal just go back and forth spamming each other videos we find. Let me tell you.
We do. One of us will see it first, and then the other one gets spammed.
We'll be like 4 videos later on the same subject.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, you guys, love you. Like us, subscribe, make some commentary. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.